Welcome. You know me and my camera. Got to get it right. There we go. Welcome, everybody. Hello. Hello, YouTubers. Adjusting my light. Good enough. I think it's good enough. Ooh, a little more red. Too much red. A little more red. There we go. Good enough. Welcome, YouTubers. I'm going to... Do I want more water? I feel like I'll get more water in a sec. I only have like half of a glass of water left, and you know me. Here, I'm going to do my slouching today for my back. There we go. Lovely. Hello, all. Hey, Rob Wall. Sending a message to everybody or something, maybe. Maybe. All right, let me get TikTok rolling. Go live. Plug in my mic on TikTok. That might be a nice thing to do as well for people here. Oops, there we go. All right, reverse my image. All right, TikTok is good. Hello. Adjust my microphone so it's not blasting. There we go. Hello, TikTokers. Hello, YouTubers. How's everybody doing today? My glasses. I got to remember to take my glasses to Chicago tomorrow, my sunglasses. This is true. We'll put them right here so maybe I don't forget. That'd be kind of a nice thing not to forget, my sunglasses and my regular glasses. Anyway, hey, Ash. Hey, everybody. Helping your daughter with her university work. Can you say hi to her? I can say hi to her, except I don't know. You didn't tell me her name. Hi, daughter. Hi, Paula's daughter. Whoever you are, wherever you are. Yeah, Herschel Walker. I did see that. Hey, Carol. Thank you for the gift. John S. and Hannah. Lovely. Thank you, guys. Catherine. Hey, who is that? Cara in Oregon. Anyway, hey, guys. So welcome all. LJ. Okay. Hey, LJ. Study hard. Anyway, so what is going on this afternoon, folks? Ireland has declared war in Israel. Yeah, I saw something going on with that. Oh, thank you, Flower Lady. I keep trying not to be vulgar about that image. I think it's just too freaking funny. The secret tree. Thank you, Carol, as well for a gift. Yeah. So the Ireland stuff, I saw it. I'm just not quite sure what's going on with it, but I did see it. Ireland's pissed off at Israel. So Israel shut down their embassy. Thank you, Larissa, for the gift. Wilco in Glasgow. Hello. Been to Scotland. Have not been to Glasgow, sadly. I've only been to Edinburgh, where they sounded too English. I wanted like fun Scottish accents. There were not fun Scottish accents in Edinburgh. They were a little too English. Thank you, Jay Shea. Anyway, so welcome, folks. Got the news of the day. As always, we'll do a lot on Ukraine. Thank you, Bjorn, for the gift. We'll do some stuff on some of the other American news, of course. Oh, hey, Pap. I'm calling you Pop. Pap in Dublin. Another place I've not been, which I've got to go. I've not been. Ireland did not declare war on Israel. No. But Ireland is sort of pissed at Israel, and I forgot what they did exactly. But Israel closed their embassy. They're not at war. No. It's Ireland. I mean, it's Ireland. They don't tend to go to war. Yes, Herschel Walker. So I'm not going to get into it. It's too esoteric, Herschel Walker, but typical Trump. Anyway, thank you, Felice. So welcome, guys. You could win. I don't know if the Irish would win against the Israelis. Israel's got one hell of a military. I don't think you'd want to go there, but fortunately, you're far enough away that you're not going to find out. So, good evening from Yorkshire or Yorkshire. Did you guys say Shire? We'd say Sheer, Yorkshire. Hey, Spooky. Okay, so let's get rolling, guys. So welcome. I am John Aravosis. This is the show. We talk about the latest news from Ukraine. We also talk about latest American news. There is some American news going on as well, which we'll talk about. It is day 1028 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. Make sure to follow me on YouTube because we don't know if TikTok's going to be around much longer. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Crazy American, for the gifts. We do know that the U.S. Supreme Court has accepted to hear TikTok's case on January 10th, which is interesting. I got everybody talking about Ireland at war now. This is funny. All right, we're talking about the news now. We're talking about TikTok news. Come back to me. So thank you, Marcia, for the gift. TikTok's case was agreed to be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. That's a good thing. Lots of news. We can talk about the government. We will talk about the government shutdown in a second. Did I put it on my list? Actually, I meant to put the government shutdown. Thank you, Marcia, on my list. Did I? Hang on. Maybe I didn't. I think I did. I did put, yeah. It's next on my list, actually. I'm being stupid. So let's talk TikTok first. So TikTok supposed to be shut down January 19th in America. Basically, the way they're doing it is they're punishing the app stores, Google and Apple's, with a hefty fine per user if, in fact, they don't shut down on January 19th, close the app down, which pretty much means the app stores will, get rid of TikTok's app. So at least now that doesn't mean we can't access TikTok on our computers and everything else. Thank you, Grumpy, for I would say dinosaur for the dragon. I like that dragon. Dragon's cool. But in any case, the TikTok asked the Supreme Court to step in. Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case, which is good. We did not necessarily know if they would hear the case. I assumed they would because this does seem to be kind of a big issue. Freedom of speech issues, dealing with corporations, dealing with national security, China. It's a very interesting case. And you probably wouldn't want to leave lower courts to be making the decisions. Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case. TikTok, so here's the timetable. Supreme Court will hear the case January 10th. TikTok will be shut down in America January 19th, 9 days later. I have a very hard time, thank you, KT, and Turtechnor. I have a very hard time believing the Supreme Court will decide the case that quickly. Maybe they will. This is a complicated case. And typically, you got to get people on board, right? Thank you, Running, for the gift on TikTok. You got to get other members or the other Supreme Court justices on board, take some negotiations. I think what's going to happen is they're going to hear the case on January 10th. We will probably get a sense from the questions the justices ask where they are. I do not think we will hear a decision by January 19th. I doubt it. But what will happen is the Supreme Court will step in and say that they are staying the implementation of the law, as Annie said, an injunction against the law, basically saying, look, it's going to take us a few weeks, maybe a few months to decide this case. In the meantime, the legislation is frozen. They can't implement it until we decide if it's constitutional or not, because it's too big of a penalty, right? And that's typically when you do an injunction, when the harm would be so great. Well, actually, injunction happens on two things. Typically, I'm not sure about the Supreme Court here, but typically a court will do an injunction on a couple things. One, the harm is so great that it's irretrievable, right? That basically you've destroyed this company by doing this, right? By shutting them down, loss of money, et cetera. The second thing is, and I'm trying to remember here whether this is like a TRO or an injunction itself. Any of the practicing lawyers out there, would an injunction from the Supreme Court have to show a likelihood of success on the merits, or would the Supreme Court just enjoin it because they're hearing the case and they don't want the case to go forward? They don't want the law implemented because of the harm until their decision is reached. But would they have to show a likelihood of success? I remember one of the in lower courts, that being sort of one of the standards. I just don't remember. I am a lawyer. I just don't practice law. I've never practiced. I've worked in law firms like 40 years ago. So in any case, while we're waiting for our practicing lawyers to weigh in on that, okay, not answering my question directly though. I want a direct answer. Would they have to show likelihood of success, or could the court just stay it because the harm is irreparable? Which I'm suspecting might be the case. Thank you, Succeed. Thank you, Janice, for the gifts as well. Beep. Beastmaster says, with this court, they make it up as they go along. FTR is saying both. Okay, so it's irreparable, but they may also look at likelihood. And the court can just stay anyway. Okay, I'm getting kind of a mix here from people here. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm seeing although I don't know whether it works any different in the Supreme Court than a lower court. In any case, bottom line here is, I think the Supreme Court is going to stay the legislation until they reach a decision. They have to. So TikTok may not get shut down on the 19th, or honestly, it's possible. I think it's very unlikely. You'd have to get somebody who's a Supreme Court historian to tell us how often would the Supreme Court expedite a decision like this. If they hear the case on January 10th, could they reach a decision before January 19th? I mean, I know they could, but like how often in history have they done such a thing on a case that's this big? You know, I don't know whether, I doubt any of you guys are Supreme Court historians, but you never know. Sometimes people are geeky enough to know these things. Thank you, Running for the Gift, and Marcia as well. In any case, I think that's what's going to happen. Thank you, Marcia. I think they're going to put the law on hold, and we may not even hear for a month or two what the court's decision is. I think it's possible. In any case, so that's what's up with TikTok. In the meantime, you might want to follow me on YouTube just to be safe. I'm John Aravosis, DC, over on YouTube. We've got a nice queue. I broadcast to YouTube and TikTok, all of these shows. Thank you, Flower Power. So you may want to check all of that out. I'll check all of that out as well. Will our democracy be okay? Oh, no. No, democracy in America is in trouble. Yes, we are definitely in trouble. Lawyers on the clock have said they could reach a decision or push off until June. I mean, I know that, Rob. You know what I mean? Like, I guess what I mean is it depends how they said it. Thank you, Nathan, for the gift. It depends how they said that. Everybody knows they can reach a decision by January 19th, or they could put it off for several months. That doesn't mean it's likely. You know, that's what I'm kind of asking is how likely is it they could reach a decision by in 9 days? Is it the kind of thing where, oh yeah, they've done that a lot in the past, right? Or, oh no, that like never happens, right? That's my question. So I don't know whether when they gave that answer, they gave that kind of a sense. But yes, they did kiss Trump's ring. Trump is going to try to save TikTok. Trump already got bought off anyway. Trump has tried repeatedly to shut down TikTok. And when he was president, he then had a meeting with a like billionaire donor or something who is a big investor in ByteDance. I think he may own 15% of ByteDance, which is the Chinese parent company of TikTok, and meets with Trump privately, of course, right? Secret meeting. They don't say what happens at the meeting. Thank you, Marcia. More gifts. But afterwards, Trump is suddenly an evangelical for TikTok. He literally tried to shut down TikTok multiple times as president. And then he comes out of the meeting and, whoa, now I'm in favor of TikTok. Woo. So, you know, but I mean, that's for you, TikTok. In Trump's case, he seems to be on board now. Thank you, Grumpy, for the gift. He seems to be on board now. Thank you, Jorge, for the gift. You can never trust Trump. Because again, Trump's going to go, Trump has, you know, the sort of mentality and the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old. And it's all about ego with Trump, and it's all about narcissism. So Trump, you know, if he gets money out of it, if he gets something out of it, he'll go with you. If he gets pissed off, he'll go against you. Or if somebody else offers him more, he'll go against you. The thing with TikTok is you still got that Chinese thing. And, you know, the Republicans really, I mean, Democrats are not thrilled about the Chinese government. The Republicans hate them. So it's very interesting. Need to be on The View. I would love to be on The View. I love The View. Love The View. That would be fun, Doug. So let's see. But I think in fact, Trump will try to save TikTok. I do. Because he's convinced that TikTok, like the youth on TikTok or whatever, voted for him, and therefore he wants to, you know, Trump, if you pander, like Trump likes people who vote for him, right? Again, it's all transactional. It's all narcissistic, right? The Supreme Court justices did not act on a request by TikTok for an emergency injunction against the law. Correct, Micho. Micho says the BBC. My suspicion is what that means is an emergency injunction would be before you've even heard the case, right? I want you to enjoin the law. And what the Supreme Court did is they said, no, I don't need to freeze the law in place to shut down TikTok and basically put the law in abeyance, put the law on hold. I don't need to do that because we're going to hear the case on January 10th and we can decide then. I think what the court's going to do based on what we just talked about, they're going to hear the case on January 10th. The law says, thank you, Jeremy, TikTok doesn't get shut down until January 19th anyway. And depending how the case goes, if it looks clear, you know, pretty clear that my guess is they're literally going to pull the justices afterwards, I think. And if a majority of the justices say, yeah, you know, we're on TikTok's side, then they're going to put the law on hold. But they didn't do an emergency one because they wanted to hear the case first and then ask the judges where they stand. So that's what I think is going to go on. And again, they could do an expedited ruling, which FTR just said. They could. I'd still like to know how often that happens in practice, like how often they've done an expedited ruling in the Supreme Court, you know? In any case, so that's what's up with TikTok. We shall see. Thank you, Mimi. And just a reminder, guys, please do keep the gifts coming. I do this for free and I do it full time. Nobody pays me. There ain't no money coming in except from you guys. So I am not retired. These are all the things people have said to me. Aren't you retired? Or somebody else pays you for this, don't they? I'm like, no, this is just me. So please do keep the gifts coming. That is my income. You may never see Americans in TikTok. This is true. I don't know that that may not be a deal breaker for you, that this would kick Americans off of TikTok. Thank you, Shane. You guys do pay me, Maddie. I know you guys do, but you know what I'm saying. Nobody else. People think, I've often had people say like, yeah, but somebody's paying you for this. Like, meaning you must get outside support or something. It's like, no. It's trying to make it work this way. So thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Christina and Masha again. Anyway. Oh, well, that's nice of you. Kind of PC says that's a deal breaker because Americans are what make TikTok good. I thought you were going to say the opposite. That, oh, if this gets rid of Americans from TikTok, then maybe it's a good thing. Thank you, Blue Ariel. What makes me qualified? Oh, Nathan, you don't want to go there. You really don't want to go there. Yeah, you know that. Okay, you're being funny. I think Nathan's being funny, so don't be careful with that. We get so many trolls, Nathan, that comments like that often will get you knocked out because the mods will think you're being mean. Yeah, you're being funny. That's fine. Yeah, we are going to get into the qualified discussion again. That's okay. I know. I'm saying for your sake because we've even I looked and thought, oh, he's a troll, and then I went, oh, JK. Okay, he's being funny. Thank you, Running. Thank you, Annie. Anyway, all right. No. I think he was being funny. YouTube, don't worry. Everyone's jumping in going, he is qualified. Yes, I think Nathan was being cute. I didn't want to have to give now I got to give my qualification spiel again, which actually, I will say though, even though Nathan was being funny, it's not a bad point. I mean, let's face it. It's something that drives me a little bit crazy. It has, when I was blogging too, I was one of the big political blogs in the US too. And it drove me a little crazy that people would listen to the political opinion of bloggers who had no background in politics. Because I was kind of like, what do they know? Now, some of them were very smart, actually. You know, like Marcos was actually quite smart about politics. Thank you, Kelly. He just had a really good innate knowledge of politics. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Kelly. But nonetheless, like, it actually is a fair point that if you're going to listen to somebody give you their political analysis, it might be good to do a little research on them and see what they know. You know, the other thing is I would say is look at their track record too. You know, and it's hard if you're new on a show watching folks, but if you've been watching for a while, you'll know pretty soon whether the person is telling you stuff that ends up being true or ends up being wrong. If they're always wrong with their predictions, then you may not want to watch that show. The bubble gum again. Thank you. Now, does that work? We'll have to try. Next time it comes out, we'll have to see if it works sideways. Like if I do that, does the bubble gum work? I don't want to make you give a gift. But I'm kind of curious, like now, because I like how the TikTok gifts are cool because they follow you when you move your head, like the dragon thing. Oh, here we go. All right. When I went sideways, was it blowing the bubbles? Oh, does it blow the bubble sideways? I can't see when I'm looking sideways. So did it? Oh, it does. It blows it sideways. That is crazy. That is so funny. It's got this thing that makes it look like you're blowing a bubble. And if you turn your head sideways, in front, it looks like it's in front. And if you go sideways, it's like blowing a bubble sideways. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. The only thing with TikTok's gifts is they make the gifts go very quickly. Like you got to spend a ton of money for the gift to go more than to go a couple seconds, which is kind of annoying. I think the gifts ought to go a touch longer. Whether it's a second longer or something, but just a little bit. Yes, this is mom's watermelon glass. Exactly. My nephew got the other ones because he likes to use them to make old fashions and things. But I grabbed one so I could have it as a water glass. We are going to discuss Ukraine, Maddie. It's coming. It's coming. But first, we're going to have a quick discussion about. We were talking about TikTok, everyone's favorite topic. We had to talk about TikTok. Thank you, Running. Whether we're going to be here. Thank you, Jetta. So really quick, and this is kind of interesting. I'm not a big Old fashions are okay. I'm not a big bourbon fan. I admit my neighbors made some old fashions and I was like, okay, it's not bad. But bourbon is not my thing. Thank you, Super Hornet. So the U.S. government may be shutting down in a couple days. That's going to be fun. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Super Hornet. Courtney. Basically, every couple of years, we sort of reach the debt ceiling. And the debt ceiling, it's hard to explain. It's a stupid thing we do in this country, but we're only allowed to have so much. It's even explaining them to do a bad job. You have to pass a law that says how much debt we can have. And when thank you, Elizabeth. I always want to go rawr with that one. Thank you. And when we reach that limit of the debt, we can't take on any more debt. Thank you, Tattooed Mom. But it's very confusing. It's basically, I don't even know how to put this. You can only, that's pretty much it. You can only have so much debt. And if you have more debt, you've got to stop spending money altogether. It's as if, let's say you've got $2,000 in your bank account and, your monthly expenses are $4,000, right? Like the U.S. government, basically, right? So we spend more than we've got, and we just increase our debt as we go on. The debt limit basically is, this is actually important because it's very confusing to explain to people, but it's an important thing, like why these shutdowns are happening. The debt limit is, for the government, we literally have to give them permission to basically be in debt, basically. And the debt limit says how much debt the government can be in this year. So it may be like a credit. It may be like a credit card. It may be, but I like to explain it this way. Let's say your debt limit is $20,000 this year, and you make $2,000 a month and you spend $6,000 a month. So $4,000 a month you're adding to your debt. Your debt limit is $20,000. You would reach that in 5 months. Each month you would spend $4,000 more than you have. So you'd add $4,000 to your debt. Your debt limit is $20,000. Once you hit your debt limit of $20,000 in the 5th month, you're not allowed to spend any more debt. So you could spend maybe that $2,000 the next month because that's actual income you've got. But then the rest of your bills for the month, 2/3 of your bills are debt, right? 2/3 of your bills are deficit. You don't have money to cover it. Since your debt limit says you can only spend $20,000 that year, you can't spend any more. So all of a sudden you shut down. You can't pay for your electricity. You can't pay for your food, right? You can't pay if you have employees. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Jean. That's the idea of how it works for the government, is each month the government is spending money it's got and money that is debt. And maybe they spend the money first they've got the first couple of months, whatever. Once they've reached a certain level of debt, they can't increase the debt anymore. Well, if they spend money this month, they're increasing the debt beyond the limit that they were given. I guess it is like a credit card limit. That's a good way of putting it, right? You've hit your credit card limit, so now you can't spend anymore. So every time they lift the debt limit, what they're saying is, okay, now instead of $30,000, we're going to allow you to have $50,000 in debt. So then we go many months more or whatever until we're at $50,000. So that's what the debt limit is. The debt limit is not, and the interesting thing is, people get confused and they think the debt limit is actually debt. The debt limit is not increasing the debt of the United States. It's increasing the permission. It's increasing your credit limit is what it's doing, in essence. That's what it's doing, okay? In any case, what's going on is we're hitting that point again. We're trying to do a continuing resolution. We're trying to have more money for the budget, for the Congress. We've also got the debt limits coming up too. Trump wanted that renegotiated this month as well. By the way, this week, actually, Trump wanted that done this week. So bottom line is the government needs money to keep operating. It's going to shut down if it doesn't happen soon. Elon Musk came out. This is actually very funny. The Republican Speaker of the House reached a deal to, basically continue the government being open, and Elon Musk came out against it. Elon Musk, who is not elected to anything, wasn't even born here. Elon came out against it. So because Elon came out against it, Trump, and I love this, that it was Elon first. Then Trump came against it, and then J.D. Vance, which was the best part ever, because J.D. Vance doesn't exist anymore, right? I mean, they hide J.D. Vance. Elon Musk is vice president. It's not J.D. Vance. I mean, and if anything, honestly, Donald Trump is vice president. I mean, Elon Musk is now president. Donald Trump is vice president. J.D. Vance is, busy on his couch. Thank you, Marsha. So now Musk, Trump, and Vance are against the continuing resolution, are against the spending bill to keep the government open. It is absolutely ridiculous. So they're talking about shutting the government. It's like, ha ha, ha ha. It's very funny. Are they wrong? They're wrong. Yeah, they are wrong, actually. Elon being Elon, said he's opposed to he's opposed to the new budget deal because it increases congressional salaries to $240,000. It doesn't. It increases them like 3%, mind you, to $184,000. Elon said $240,000. Elon said they're building a new stadium in the bill in Washington, D.C., and it's going to cost $3 billion. No, that's not what's happening. The bill is there's a stadium in D.C. that the government owns, and they're basically transferring ownership to D.C. They're not building a new stadium. They're not going to spend $3 billion. There are multiple, and this was like Elon's tweets about why he's against the bill, and he's totally wrong. Elon, of course, being Elon, is believing all of these kooky, all the crazy accounts on Twitter that everybody knows are crazy, and they always tweet bullshit, but they've got like 1 million followers. Elon loves these people. He loves these people. So he's always going and retweeting these people who are, I don't want to say they're lying, because I think a lot of them are just stupid. Like the person who claimed it's going to increase congressional salaries to $240,000. Totally wrong. And Elon retweets it, goes, that's horrible. I'm against this. So Elon came out against the bill for reasons that were totally fake, because Elon's an idiot. And then Trump and Vance are now against it too. So it's a mess. They could try to shut it down. The problem is voters hate it when the government shut down. They hate it. And currently, it's going to be Elon and Trump's fault if the budget's shut down. Elon's from South Africa. He's, American now, questionably, because it looks like he might have been here illegally at the beginning, which if he did, then that could knock out his citizenship, but he's from South Africa. Yeah. So yes, Americans tend not to like when they shut the government down. Crazy people like Elon think it's great because they think, oh yeah, shut the government down. Actual Americans don't like that shit, because they don't like the sort of dysfunction of it. And frankly, they don't like when services they're used to getting from the government, they don't get because the government shut down. So yeah, he's crazy. He's absolutely out of his mind. In any case, all right, let us now move on to Ukraine. That was we had a lot of non-Ukraine news today, or big non-Ukraine news. Zelensky is meeting, or just met, the head of NATO, European allies, and former British Foreign Secretary of Britain, David Lammy, in Brussels today. It sounds like they're trying to kind of get together and figure out where they go from here. From what I was reading, it sounds like, they realize Trump is going to try to force this. Trump is going to cut Ukraine off. He's going to try to force Ukraine into some kind of a deal. And they want to figure out what they can do to make the deal as good as possible for Ukraine. Whether they can all agree on a deal, whether they can put pressure. But that's what it was. So not a bad thing that they're all getting together and talking. It probably is a very good idea, because they've got to sort of get their act together so they can sort of all together push back against Trump. A little bit more on the Russian general. So that Russian general yesterday, who Ukraine blew up using a scooter, he may be the first casualty of war, especially general, killed by a scooter. If anybody didn't hear about it, Ukraine put a scooter in Moscow outside the residence of a top Russian general and put a bomb on it. And when the general walked out of his house at 6 o'clock in the morning, back is itching. When the general walked out of his house at 6 a.m. yesterday, they had a camera in the car across the street so they could see when he walked out. As soon as he walked out, boom, killed him, killed his aide. Trump's death by scooter, exactly. Trump's this general who Trump appointed, General Kellogg, to be his like envoy for Russia and Ukraine. So in principle, this is the guy who's going to be negotiating. I don't think he is. I think he sounds a little too sane, but nonetheless, maybe. He criticized Ukraine today and said, this is, he basically criticized what Ukraine did. He said, there are rules in war. And typically, if a general's on a battlefield, that's okay. But you don't kill a general back in his hometown in Moscow on the street. And it just doesn't look good. And I'm listening to this guy and even me as an American, I'm listening to this guy going, are you high? Let alone if let alone imagine a Ukrainian listening going like, it doesn't look good. It's not nice. Really? Even the rule thing, he didn't actually give a rule as to why it was not allowed. He claimed there are rules about these things. You don't go after generals back at their office. First of all, why the hell don't you go at a general in his office? Like, why not? Right? Like, there's a different, think about this. If that general visited the battlefield anywhere near Ukraine, a military installation, it'd be okay to do the exact same thing with a scooter if he was in a military installation inside Ukraine. Okay. What if he was in a military installation right outside of Ukraine? Right? Would that be okay? What if he was visiting occupied Ukraine and woke up in the morning and walked outside of the building he was staying in? Could they hit him with a scooter then? Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's like he's not making a legal argument on why this is a violation of the rules of war. He literally suggested it wasn't nice and it just doesn't look good. You just don't do that kind of stuff. And it's like, dude, have you been watching the last 3 years? Really the last, 12 years of what's been going on? Well, not 12 years, 10 years of what's been going on in Ukraine. Have you been watching what the Russians are doing? Do you not know? Like, it stopped being nice a really long time ago, what the Russians have been doing. They're literally kidnapping Ukrainian children. It's not nice. This is General Kellogg, who's the guy that Trump picked to be the U.S. guy who goes to Russia and Ukraine to try to negotiate peace. Really weird. I'm all for, not committing war crimes. Okay, right? But he didn't actually say that. He just said, like, there are rules. You don't really go after a general when he's working out of an office back in Moscow. You just don't do that. Why? Thank you, Ava, for the gift, right? I kind of feel like, Ukraine loses their country, but at least they know that they didn't hit generals back in Moscow because that just wouldn't be nice. So let's just let our kids be kidnapped and our country overrun. It's like, really? Anyway, that was him today. I was kind of like, yeah, good for you. He said, he goes, it's just not a good idea. Yeah, that's what he said. It's not a good idea. Okay, Mary. Or okay, Jan. I should say Jan in this case. Okay, Jan. Not a good idea. This was interesting. So the Russians are claiming that they've arrested 2 people involved in the bombing. One was a 29-year-old male who reportedly said he flew to Moscow where he rented a car, installed cameras to record the explosion, and used a homemade explosive device. According to his alleged testimony, he was promised $100,000 for the murder and was in touch with a Ukrainian intelligence officer through a messaging app. It might be true. Ukraine has done this before, and it kind of blows my mind. They have convinced people to commit terrorist acts, whatever you want to call them, terrorist acts, attacks, whatever they are, for them in Russia. It's wild. And I'm trying to, mind you, this is coming from Russia, so you shouldn't believe what they're saying. You shouldn't believe anything the Russians tell you. So this may not be true. Also, I have it seems a little weird, like somebody on a messaging app, like, hi, I'm Ukrainian. Would you consider killing a top general in Moscow and I'll give you $100,000? Oh, okay, stranger on my messaging app. And by the way, I live in a dictatorship, so I'm sure you're not my own government trying to get me in trouble. It's a little weird. Listen to this. This was from Sky News talking a little bit more about it. Sky News says, as if to underline how firmly they have matters under control. The Russian state security shared a video of what they say is the suspect's confession. This is Sky News saying this. It's rather odd, to put it mildly. The video of the confession of the guy, Sky News says, it's rather odd, to put it mildly. The man, an Uzbek national, describes how he was acting on the instructions of Ukraine's intelligence service, but he frequently looks off camera as if he's almost reading something. There also appears to be bruises on his forehead and face. It raises many questions, as does the attack. Sky News goes on to say, meanwhile, there isn't a single discussion on the Russian news of like, how did this happen? Security lapses, are they going to fix that? Like everything's like, oh no, we did nothing wrong, right? So yeah, this could be a total fake. This could be a total fake thing, totally fake. So who knows? Yeah, we'll see. He probably did. They beat him. Now, mind you, just because they beat him doesn't mean he's not guilty. He could have been, knowing the Russians, they would beat somebody who was guilty anyway, right? You know, the Russians. But I love the idea he was looking off camera, looked like he was reading the confession. God. Now, having said that, it's also possible that Russia got the right guy and they wrote up his confession for him. But this is Russia. Like I said, you really can't trust anything they say. No, there is no free press in Russia. It's a dictatorship. You can't trust what they say about this stuff. Anyway, some bad news from the U.S. The U.S. may not be able to send the remaining $5.6 billion in military aid to Ukraine before Trump takes office, according to the New York Times. It's the authority is basically it's the Presidential Drawdown Authority, and basically it allows the U.S. to transfer weapons from the Pentagon's own stockpile to Ukraine, and then ordering replacements. You know, normally I would want to trust my president and think, you know, we've given Ukraine so many weapons. This is what Biden's claiming. We've given them so many weapons. We just don't have any more weapons that we can afford to give them. Because if we give them too many weapons, then we don't have enough to defend ourselves. Maybe, right? Maybe. The problem is, this is the Biden administration, right? So much of the bullshit of the last 3 years has been Biden being afraid of Putin, Biden not double thinking, what's the word we're looking for? We're doubting himself, going back on. I mean, it's been like Biden, Mr. Indecision, Mr. Fear of moving forward. And I'm sorry, again, yeah, he's way better than Trump. He's been kind of a disaster on Ukraine. He was a B minus on Ukraine. And you know what? That's nice. It's better than an F, which Trump would be. But when you're talking about the survival of a country and U.S. national security and a possibility of World War III in Europe, you need to strive for being a little bit better than a B minus. So I don't accept, and this is what I've told you guys, I don't accept when, thank you, Tom Clark, for the gift. What I don't like in politics, and I've worked in politics for 40 years in Washington, mostly in Washington, 2 years in New York. What I don't like in politics is when politicians, and Biden's a politician, fail or do less well than they can do. Meaning, it's one thing to say you tried and hey, we couldn't do everything, right? That's acceptable in politics. You can't do everything. It's another thing when you could do a hell of a lot more and literally you're just too afraid to do it. But you could, right? In other words, Biden could have done a hell of a lot more if he weren't afraid of Putin. He could have given more weapons. He could have given the weapons earlier. We wouldn't have had to wait a year to even get the tank thing rolling. We could have started the training. They wanted, Republican Adam Kinzinger in the House wanted to start training on American fighter jets early on. And Biden said no. We could have started the training at the beginning just to scare Moscow and say, you know what? We're not giving them the fighter jets yet, but if you keep acting like bullies, we're going to give them the fighter jets, right? Biden, I don't like it when politicians get a B when they could have gotten an A. If they couldn't have gotten a better score, a B and an A is how we judge things in America. Like in France, it's out of 20, but it's really 16. In America, an A is like 16. That's my problem. Thank you, Laddie. Right? It's when he clearly could have done better, and he simply chose not to because he was afraid. That's my problem. So, and that is why I criticize Biden on this stuff, because it is not Biden. If he did the best he could, that would be one thing. He didn't do the best he could. He was afraid of Putin. You know? Poland, a lot of, Germany fits in the same problem. France was this way. France is better, but France also hasn't really done a ton. I mean, when it comes down to it, France talks really good now to talk a good talk, but France hasn't done much in terms of weapons they've sent. I mean, they've sent some good ones, but not a lot. You lose everything. You lose the initiative. I mean, the problem was Biden dragged it out so long, and again, the French and the Germans were part of the reason. They dragged it out so long that it gave the Russians time to dig in. So now it's impossible to dislodge the Russians. And actually, we should remind people, it is also the problem where the big and this is something to remind people, the big counteroffensive last year was Ukraine's big push to get its land back. And we intentionally hobbled them. We didn't get them the tanks right away. We didn't get them the fighter jets at all. So no fighter jets, no air power. And without air power, it was doomed. I mean, that's actually the main point. The military guys and gals will tell you, without the air power, there was almost no chance of the counteroffensive working. But we pumped all these weapons in, but we refused to give them the air power. And it didn't. And guess what? The counteroffensive didn't work. The other problem, because we waited so long to get Ukraine tanks, and we refused to give them tanks. Oh, the military folks weigh in and explain this again about, was it air supremacy, air superiority? I forget. But that the whole idea of them doing this without air support was insane, or without sufficient air support. They'll tell you this was a whole huge discussion back before the counteroffensive and then after as well, saying that we basically screwed them on this, absolutely screwed them. The other problem was because of the tank problem. Because the tanks, Ukraine had to hold off 5 months maybe from when they wanted to attack Russia. They had to wait maybe 5 months for our tanks to arrive because we waited forever to even okay the tanks arriving. And because they had to wait 5 months or longer for the tanks to arrive, the Russians had 5 more months to dig in, and then it became impossible to dislodge them because the Russians had so much time to build up their defenses that they would not have had we moved the tanks in earlier, had we approved the tanks earlier. It's just so freaking annoying. No, the Ukrainians did do amazingly well, but it's ridiculous though. We knew they were, we held their hands behind their back. We, tied their arms behind their backs, All right. A couple hundred North Korean troops have been killed or wounded fighting in Russia's Kursk Oblast, according to the Associated Press. The high casualty rate was in part due to the soldiers' lack of battle experience. That's an interesting fact, if true. Again, this is from the AP. One of the issues with the South Korean troops, and Chinese troops too, really, people were wondering is they haven't really, American troops have fought in wars. Some of them we haven't done too well. I mean, our troops have done well, but we just didn't win, right? I mean, Afghanistan, Iraq, it's not the fault of our troops. It just didn't go so well. But our troops got a lot of battle experience, and our troops are very good. Russia's fought in wars too. China has not fought in wars recently. North Korea really hasn't fought in wars recently at all. And at least from this one story in AP, it's saying that is part of the reason there's such high North Korean casualties, because they haven't had experience in the battlefield, and now they're kind of getting it. It's getting them killed. There was also a phone intercept. I saw this on TikTok, on Twitter, actually earlier today. A phone intercept of these Russian nurses, I believe. Yeah, Russian nurses talking at a Moscow hospital about the North Korean troops. And the one nurse tells her husband, who's a soldier fighting in Kursk Oblast, so they've intercepted it because she was near Ukraine, that the wounded North Korean fighters are being brought in by the trainload, she says. So there's that many of the wounded North Koreans. She says, yesterday there was a train with about 100 people. Today there are 120. That's already about 200, she says. How many more are there? God only knows, she says. She also claims that the hospital wards are being emptied to make way for the North Korean wounded. This was interesting. She said hospital staff are having trouble communicating with them because they're not allowed to speak English with them. Because some of the hospital staff at least knows English. And they're not allowed to even try to speak English with them. I mean, you have to love that. Again, good, frankly. And of course, it's impacting the care these guys are getting, because they've got soldiers there that they cannot communicate with. So they know the guy's hurt, they know the guy's in pain, but they can't, right? I mean, what kind of pain? Where is the pain? When I do this, right? You can't have any of those. When did it start? I mean, you can't have any pre-existing conditions, right? You can't have any conversation, and they're literally not letting them talk to them in English. I think it's fabulous. It's great. I mean, it's great, right? Why not? You want to make it harder for the North Korean troops to survive and get better? Like, okie dokie. I know that blew my mind, though. I was like, oh my God, you're not going to let them speak English to them. It's really weird, too, because like what? I mean, I'm almost wondering, is the speaking English thing because maybe they defect? Like if you speak English, their comrades won't understand. I don't understand what the logic even is of that. Like it just, although it could be North Korean dictatorship crazy land. Well, there's a question by whom? That's the other question. Is it the Russians that are requiring this, or is it the North Koreans that are requiring this? Who knows? Who knows? Do they know? Some of them might know some English. I mean, good question about North Korea, actually. It would make sense for North Koreans to learn some English, because at the very least, this is how you go. I mean, you don't go on the internet, but you can give them information from the internet, that they can read, they can learn, perhaps. Maybe in North Korea, one doesn't do that. Maybe in North Korea, everything is in English and it's translated, and that's what you give the troops, right? Maybe. But I would think you might want, I don't know, maybe you don't want them to know English. Maybe you don't, the soldiers. But I don't know whether the soldiers can, I don't know whether they get any access to anything that they could learn English on their own if they wanted to, like a little bit. I don't know. That's a really interesting question as to like, I wonder, Alexa, she's not going to know. How many North Koreans speak English?
From Answers.com. In North Korea, English is widely studied because it needs to be a major international language. However, in practice, very few can speak it, usually only tour guides and diplomats.
Oh, Alexa, stop. Alexa just said in North Korea, English is widely studied because it's considered an international language or whatever. But that in practice, not that many people speak it, but that could be France and Italy too. But that's actually very interesting if it's widely studied. Thank you, James, for subscribing. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so English might actually help them out. I think they're afraid of a conversation happening that maybe, I don't know, the minders can't, I don't know. I mean, it's again, North Korea is the worst dictatorship on the planet. Well, it's not just the worst dictatorship on the planet, but I keep sort of telling folks it is also objectively a horrific dictatorship. So it's not just the worst of what we've got. It's also just horrific on its own. So it's not like it's relatively the worst. It's also just so bad what they do there. Stalinism kind of dictatorship. In any case, interesting. But yeah, you wonder if it's not the Russians giving the commands, right? All right, a couple more little stories here. One of Russia's largest chemical plants reportedly was attacked by the Ukrainians. It's a plant that produces rocket fuel for the Russian military. This story I thought was interesting. I was asking Vlad. I want to see if he responded to me. He did not respond. So this I thought was interesting. Listen to this. Ukraine has delivered more than 200,000 domestically produced drones to the frontline units so far in December, according to the defense minister. So the defense minister says Ukraine has delivered 200,000 drones to the front line in December. So in the first 3 weeks of December, 200,000 drones were delivered? I mean, maybe that's true, but Jesus Christ, that's a lot. I mean, that's an insane number. But I try to remember, Vlad, during one of our lives we did with Vlad, he had told us how many they were using a day, and it was some crazy number. I don't know. Does anybody remember what the figure was? It wasn't like 10,000 a day or something, was it? It was a crazy, I want to say that was more like a month. You know what I mean? Alexa, raise your volume. I can ask her again. I don't trust her. Alexa, how many drones does Ukraine use per month in the war? Alexa, how many drones per month does Ukraine use in the war?
I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd have an answer for that. She's no ChatGPT, you know. Thank you, Marsha, for the tiny. Tens of thousands. That's what I was going to say. Like, I remember it being like 10,000 a month or something, but 200,000 drones delivered in 1 month sounds kind of insane. I mean, maybe, but it just sounds like a crazy number. Sweden is not excluding a more direct physical presence in Ukraine to bolster defense. Basically, Sweden was kind of asked about all the other countries talking about sending troops, perhaps as part of a peace deal, and said that they do not exclude the possibility of deploying peacekeepers. So that's good. German's arm manufacturer Rheinmetall has received an order to supply Ukraine with 20 additional Marder infantry fighting vehicles. And finally, 25% of Russian malls may face bankruptcy in 2025. Russian shopping, this is from via Kyiv Independent. Russian shopping centers have been hit hard by the departure of major foreign companies, rising operational costs, and increased competition from online marketplaces. 25% of Russian shopping malls may face bankruptcy in 2025. Oh, well, ha. All right. Oh, boy. All right. I'm going to yawn at you. Sorry. Oh, my allergies are clicking in my nose too. Anyway. All right, guys. So let's chat. That was a long one today. This is the part of the show we hang and we chat, and my nose gets itchy because it wouldn't be my show if my nose didn't get itchy from my allergies. Anyway. True. That's true. I mean, we've had with the economy, we've had a lot of shopping malls and stores. In my neighborhood, there's a lot of stores that are closed. You know, anything about drones? What about drones? I just talked about drones. Rager, what are you asking? Okay, found themselves in Belarus when using geolocation on the phone. Oh, is that true, Mike? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Thank you, KT. I did see that. 50,000 a month they send. Okay. So maybe they did deliver 200,000. Mike is saying, I think he's getting this from a news story. I'm assuming, Mike, this isn't a joke on YouTube. I want to see first. I doubt it's a joke. Yeah, we'll talk about the stock market in a second. Okay. The news story was, I have to explain this. Okay. Some residents in Kyiv. So Ukrainians in the Ukrainian capital were checking like the map app, like Google Maps or whatever, the map app on their phones during a Russian Shahed drone attack. And all of a sudden, their phones showed that they were in Belarus because the Ukrainians have basically hacked the GPS of the Russian drones. And they've done this now a few times. They've made the drones turn and attack Belarus by screwing with the location of the drone. So the drones don't know where they are, or they not know where they are. They've given them false information. So they end up thinking, aha, we're going at Ukraine, and they're really attacking Belarus. So some people actually had it come up on their phones where even their phones started showing Belarus on the map because apparently they were doing whatever. That's very funny. Oh man. Yeah. What was the other, you were just asking about, the stock market. So the stock market crashed 1,000 points today, which is only about 3%. I mean, only 3%, but it's, because of Trump's inflation plans, basically. So the Federal Reserve comes out today and says, in fact, yes, we will cut interest rates another 1/4 point, which is great. That was the plan. That's what everybody thought they were going to do. But the stock market crashed anyway. And it has been 10 days in a row. The stock market crashed anyway because the Federal Reserve also said next year they were planning on cutting rates 4 times. Now they said today they're only going to cut rates probably twice. Because, and they sort of explained this, because inflation looks like it's not beat, and there are concerns about uncertainties next year. What they mean is they're concerned about Trump's inflationary policies, Trump's threats to hit Canada, Mexico, and China with tariffs. Thank you, Jetta, for the crapping Christmas tree, of hitting the tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico are going to massively increase prices on Americans. That's how tariffs work. They increase the price you pay for it. And The Federal Reserve is now worried that it's going to increase inflation and that it's going to increase inflation even further. So now interest rates aren't going to be cut as much thanks to Donald Trump. The man isn't even president yet, and he's already tanking the stock market. And he screwed us on interest rates already. Interest rates are now not going down as far. Mortgages are not going down as far, right? I mean, he's screwed us across the board on inflation, which was the very issue that he won the election on, was inflation. And what a surprise. All of us were saying that Trump's policies were inflationary. He was going to cause problems with inflation, and he's not even president yet. And he's already screwed us over. Our stocks are starting to have problems, and we are not getting the interest rates cuts that we were promised because of what Trump did. He will blame Biden, and he'll probably get away with it because he'll go Biden, Biden, Biden. And Democrats, by the way, I'm probably the only Democrat you're going to hear. Well, that's not true. Harry will say it, Parker will say it. But as far as in Washington, I'm probably the only Democrat you're going to hear right now blaming Trump for this, right? Democrats are going to be like, it's Christmas time. If they were Republicans, they would be all over this, blaming Trump for this, or blaming the Democrats if the Democrats did this. But before he's even president, blow this up in his face, make him own it, Trumpflation. Actually, that is true. Trumpflation. That's a great, the word works actually. You're right. Trumpflation works as a word. Yeah. Anyway. Oh my God. Oh man. Oh, so that's what's up with that. Oh. Yeah. So yes, the markets are down thanks to Trump. Thanks, Donald. Thanks for our interest rates not going down as low as they would have gone. Idiot. Is there usually snow around Christmas? Often, not always. I don't know if there's any snow on the ground now. There's a chance of some tomorrow night. Sasha is good. She's on the couch right now sleeping. It's kind of cold outside. What is it? It's like, well, no, it's not bad. Actually, today's 53. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. But we're going to Chicago tomorrow. So I should have said that. There's not going to be a show tomorrow, most likely, because I won't get to my sister's place till 2 or 3. My back has stabilized. I mean, it's improved. It's not good enough because, for example, I'm still slouching. I should be doing the show like this. But when I do it like this, the nerve goes through my back to my arm and starts to cause problems. So it's better than it was. The auctions I was about to set up, I took a lot of pictures of the auction items. I will put them up, and I'm going to have the auctions end a few days after I get back because I did this once before when I was in Chicago, and it was very difficult doing the auctions when I was gone because I find the auctions do better when I show you guys during the show the auction items. And if they're not on, if I don't have them in person, which I won't in Chicago, it's not going to do as well. So I am going to put the auction items up probably once I get to Chicago. I took pictures today of them, but I'm going to let them run until, I get back Friday of next week. But, meaning I'm not going to do a show Friday because I'm not going to get back till probably 5 in the afternoon. I'm going to have the auctions end maybe Tuesday or Wednesday so that there's a couple, maybe even Wednesday, so I can get 2 shows out of the way first. Anyway, there's no choice. So that's what we'll do. 22 here and a chance of 1 to 3 inches tomorrow. Yeah, that's what I'd heard tomorrow night, but not as much of a chance necessarily. It depends. Aliens in New York. I know. Yeah, we didn't hear anything about the drones today, did we? Today was kind of a droneless day, a droneless news day. I think I did not hear anything about them. Anybody? You have COVID and oh my God, you got COVID. That's not good. And it's like a bad case, Marsha. That's bad. I don't know more drone talk. Well, we haven't had to talk about Luigi today either, which is good. I'm glad. There was a poll out. I was going to talk about the poll. Hang on. What was this? I think it was a Luigi poll that basically showed young people, not surprisingly, being more supportive, but everybody else being less so. Hold on. Let me see if I've got it. I think I've got it here. Let me see. Oh, wait. I've got to wait for my pictures to synchronize here probably. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, let me see the polls here. Do you approve of Elon Musk playing a prominent role in the Trump administration? Yes, 41%. No, 53%. The interesting thing is Republicans overwhelmingly approve, Democrats overwhelmingly disapprove by a larger margin. Independents overwhelmingly disapprove, 57 to 37. That's interesting. The independent thing is what gets interesting because Democrats and Republicans are going to disagree, but it's the voters in the middle you're worried about. Voters in the middle do not like Elon Musk taking this large role in all the politics. That's very interesting. I'm trying to see. I thought I took a picture of the poll. Maybe I don't. Let me see. What's his face? Luigi. There was a Luigi poll that basically showed young people were split. Here we go. Do you think the actions of the killer, of the killer of the United Healthcare CEO are acceptable or unacceptable? Results by age. 18 to 29. Hold on here. 18 to 29. I'd have to like show you this. Let's do unacceptable, okay? Completely unacceptable, 18 to 29, 33%. Completely unacceptable, 70 plus, 69%. 60 to 69-year-olds, 74% completely unacceptable. 50 to 59-year-olds, 65% completely unacceptable. 40 to 49, 61% completely unacceptable. 30 to 39, 43% completely unacceptable. But completely acceptable is still only 10%. Then you get to 18 to 29-year-olds and it gets more interesting. 33% completely unacceptable, 7% somewhat unacceptable. So that gives you 40%, 18 to 29-year-olds who say somewhat or completely unacceptable. Somewhat or completely acceptable is 24 plus 17, 34, 41%. So 41% say somewhat or completely acceptable, 40% say unacceptable among 18 to 29. So 18 to 29s are split. 30 to 39-year-olds, though, already gets trouble because you've got completely unacceptable or somewhat unacceptable is 56%, whereas acceptable is 23%. So honestly, what's been interesting about this, let me say this too. I've been very intrigued by this. Online, totally different. I do a TikTok video, and oh my God, the number of whiners I get. I'm not following you anymore because you disagree about Luigi. More than any video, unfollow. If you listen to people, even talking to you guys, you listen to people online and it feels like 90% support Luigi. Those poll numbers are pretty bad. People like in their 20s are split 50-50. Even people in their 30s are not split 50-50. People in their 30s are pretty resoundingly against. It's 30% they're in favor of the kid. That's it. So it's kind of interesting because it has felt like a huge number of people on left and right defending this guy, and these poll numbers are much less. Now, I don't know. I don't know whether the poll numbers sort of belie the actual support. Like people don't want to tell a pollster they're in favor of assassinations on the street. I don't know. But oh yeah, the Luigi videos, they're out of control. Unfollow. I'm like, okay, drama queen, But also, what a bizarre litmus test. Luigi is your litmus test of whether you like me. What are you? Again, are you 12 years old? We disagree about Luigi, and you're having a temper tantrum. Thank you, 912. Thank you, Bryce. The terrorism, we talked about the terrorism charge yesterday. It's terrorism. I think it's probably terrorism. Yeah, it's probably terrorism. Because he was trying to influence the country at large. He was trying to influence policy, politics, which is policy, same thing. He was trying to influence insurance companies nationwide, trying to influence insurance policy. I think, and frankly, again, or the shooter, let's be nice. He's alleged. The shooter was, if Luigi was the shooter, it sounded like his little manifesto was trying to get other people to jump into. I think the only thing with terrorism is typically terrorism, you want it to be politically focused, like it's trying to influence the government. This isn't necessarily trying to influence the government. This is trying to go after insurance companies, but I don't know. I mean, like I'm trying to think of like Red Army faction and some of those guys. I don't remember. We're talking this is the 1980s now, but if they went after, I'm trying to remember who they went after, or who was the oh my God, were they what were they the Brigade Rossi or whatever it was, the Red Brigades or whatever they were in Italy? Were they not going after businesses too and businessmen and things like that? Right? I mean, terrorist groups can go after businesses. They can go after corporations. They can go after, I mean, is that not terrorism? I mean, setting a bomb at the headquarters of a large American company, would that not be an act of terrorism? I mean, granted, it depends. It depends. If you're a disgruntled employee, maybe not, right? Maybe, because then it's crazy employee killing his coworkers. Is that terrorism? I don't know. If you're doing it because you're upset at the entire industry and you're trying to make national change and you decide to do it with murder, that starts to sound like terrorism. I mean, so I think it probably is, whether you like it or not. Yeah, Red Army faction, they're the ones in Germany. Yeah, Red Army faction, and then Red Brigades in Italy. Yeah. Well, Baader-Meinhof, you had a ton of them in Germany. You had Baader-Meinhof too. So I think what he did I could put it this way. I think it probably was terrorism, but I wouldn't be surprised if it falls just short. It might fall just short. So but that doesn't necessarily tell us whether it was okay what he did, right? As I said, just because something's terrorism doesn't mean per se I'm going to say it's wrong, depending on the country and the situation. By defect, what does that mean, Eric? Well, I'm sure they're trying to make an example out of him. I mean, they should. He killed a corporate CEO and called for like a nationwide jihad against CEOs. I mean, that's pretty dangerous. That's my problem with this. I mean, I do not want to live in a country where it's okay to kill CEOs you disagree with. Because, as I said, if you can kill a CEO you disagree with on healthcare policy, then can you kill politicians you disagree with on healthcare policy? Right? I mean, right? So, January 6th rioters charged with terrorism. They were charged with conspiracy. I'm trying to remember. They were charged with sedition, some of them. I do not remember if any of them were charged with terrorism. I don't know with terrorism charges. I don't know. You could Google. I doubt I don't know if my Alexa's not exactly the smartest Alexa out there. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Randy, for the gifts. Morgan says, no, they weren't. Okay. But also it's kind of different because it was violent, but I don't know though. I mean, because it was terrorist. It was domestic terrorism, really. It was. It depends. I don't know what the federal law is. Also, it depends what the federal law is, right? And what the elements of the federal law are, and who knows, Yeah, I mean, it seems like terror. The problem is when you're talking about terrorism in a legal sense, you've got to go by some legal definition. That's sort of the issue. Is like when we're talking about Luigi, we're saying in terms of the law, is it terrorism? Parker, we hope to have Parker soon. Parker and I were chatting on TikTok about a week ago. He said he's definitely going to come on, but it sort of fell by the wayside. His account got banned for a few days, and then he had to go to the White House Christmas party yesterday, which I was very jealous. So I'm giving him some time, and I'm gone the next week anyway, so I don't want to do it the next week when I'm gone. So, but we'll have to squeeze it in before TikTok is banned. Domestic terrorism has its own definition. That's interesting. Well, also, when this came up several years ago, I Googled and found, this was during the Obama administration, so maybe like 2015 or 2012, whatever. And each federal agency had a different definition of terrorism, which I thought was fascinating. like the FBI versus, and I'm forgetting who the other agencies were, multiple agencies with multiple definitions of terrorism. It was and they were different, all of them, which I thought was kind of surprising. I'd be like, somebody at the federal government needs to kind of, at the White House needs to go, okay, we're not going to have each agency have its own made up definition of terrorism, Anyway, yeah, Supreme Court's going to hear the TikTok case. That is true on January 10th. That's a good question. Let me look and see. That would be, I was going to text Garrett Graff, is a friend of mine who wrote a sort of one of the sort of definitive books about aliens and UFOs. And let me just see here. Did somebody interview Garrett? I think they did. It looks like, hang on. Oh no, God bless him. Garrett wrote a piece for the Washington Post today. That is hilarious. He wrote it. I was going to say we should get him. We should talk to him. Garrett wrote a piece for the Washington Post today about the drone issue. The rising panic over mystery drones swarming the skies of mid-Atlantic states reminds us that in the centuries-long hunt to identify UFOs, humans are usually the weakest link. America has real national security challenges in the new era of drones, but invasion of mystery drones over New Jersey isn't one of them. As it turns out, just as eyewitnesses often bungle the details of, say, a car accident on the corner, we're notoriously unreliable when it comes to identifying and reporting UFOs. He, by the way, just wrote like the definitive book on UFOs. Famous political writer, very smart guy, very objective, love him, from Vermont, and wrote like the big book on UFO. I do need to get him on the show. A big book. We got him on the podcast that I had before. We got to get Garrett on the show. A huge percentage of UFO sightings turn out upon investigation to be planet Venus. Oh, wait, is this UFO or is this the drones? Yeah, UFOs. A huge percentage of sightings turn out upon investigation to be the planet Venus or other surprisingly bright astronomical phenomena. People on the ground regularly misjudge distances in the sky so that even objects miles away are perceived to be close by. The UFO mistaken identity problem is a big part of the reason that the military and scientists now refer to such sightings more precisely as UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, a label meant to capture that many sightings might not be objects at all, but are more likely to be known or as yet unknown astronomical atmospheric phenomena. Interesting. Let me see this. Let me just see this. Even skilled aviators make mistakes. On October 1st, 1948, Lieutenant George Gorman, a World War II veteran and pilot in the North Dakota Air National Guard, gave chase in his P-51 fighter after spotting the bright light of a UFO race past him in the skies over Fargo. At speeds of over 400 miles per hour, he engaged in a dogfight for nearly 30 minutes, the ball-shaped UFO bobbing and weaving around him as it executed turns that he felt were aerodynamically impossible. Investigators later determined that Gorman had been chasing a weather balloon launched about 10 minutes before he spotted it. The balloon had simply been floating along in the night sky, and he'd been diving and racing all around it. Find here what else. I want to see when he gets back to the drone problem then. Let me see here. What does he say? I've always been fascinated by the self-centered confidence that underlies so many UFO reports, that people's first instinct upon spotting a bright moving light in the night sky is not to assume the obvious, say a star, a meteor, a satellite, or a faraway jet, but instead to imagine that after an alien craft journeyed thousands of light years across interstellar space to visit Earth, the aliens would pick that moment on a random Tuesday night to reveal themselves to someone on a dark rural road or in a suburban backyard. Talks about Occam's razor. Partly that instinct stems from something fundamental. The question, are we alone, is one of the three most basic questions that have fascinated humans since the first caveman campfires. A question ranks alongside what happens after death and is there a God as the most profound. Beyond that, our cultural fascination with UFOs stems from the fact that it is a rare area where we can all gaze upon the deepest frontier of knowledge. As an ordinary person, I can't add much to the already advanced scientific and mathematical questions of our time. I'm not liable to crack string theory wide open during a weekend barbecue, nor is my tinkering the garage likely to deliver to humanity the secret of nuclear fusion. And yet, as the New Jersey drone mystery reminds us, every time any of us looks out the kitchen window, glances into the backyard sky, or drives down an empty highway, we can believe we might see that one glowing light that changes everything. So, his theory, which I think is not wrong, is he knows UFOs, and the UFO stuff tends to be bullshit, unfortunately. And he's applying that to this, going, this has happened before, the UFO thing, where typically people get it wrong. All the time people get it wrong. And they're convinced that there's mass hysteria and everything else, and it's wrong. So let's see. But I told you at the beginning, yeah, I want it to be aliens. I don't think it's aliens. I don't even think it's the Russians. But maybe the Russians I think the Russians might be doing some of it, and then everybody else went crazy. That's possible too. New name for UFOs is UAPs, which I refuse to call them that, but they wanted it because a lot of them they found out are not objects. They're things like, stars or whatever, and they said, there's no point in calling it an object. It's a phenomenon. Scully was taken aboard a spacecraft, exactly. But NORAD sees Santa. That's true. We accept Santa. That's okay. Yeah, so we'll see. But I'm not convinced that this is anything. So what do? Oh man, I so don't want to fly tomorrow. I hate flying. I find it very stressful, flying. Just always have. What do? I think it's also with the dog. Without the dog, it would be so much easier. But with like the dog and this and that, and you're just kind of like, it's very stressful. So, and my flight's relatively early. I've got to leave like at 10 o'clock, which I'm not thrilled because that's a bit early. For me, I like to get up, have a few hours to finish packing again, this kind of stuff, Yeah, we'll see, Ash. I'm only there for a week, but I mean, you can certainly come visit. Only seen UFOs once in an old space shuttle video. It was mind-blowing. And the space shuttle did see something, didn't they? Oh, you're off. That's right, because it's school. I forgot about that. That is Sasha's travel case. Yes. Good eyes there. Who was that saw that? Jens. Yeah, that's her, for the TikTokers. That is her travel case. I'll let you guys. It's that right there. That's her travel case. And basically, she fits inside quite easily, and it goes under the seat in the plane. But she likes it. So I leave it out the night before so I don't forget it. But also, she'll climb inside of it and sleep, and little bits back and forth. And I throw some old T-shirts in there so it smells like me, and it gives her a little bit of a bed too. She likes it, so it works perfectly. Spirit Airlines, is that for stress? No, I mean I fly Southwest a lot. They're nice. They've usually been very nice. Once I had a disaster crazy lady on Southwest, absolutely crazy lady on Southwest. But otherwise they've been very nice. But I think that all airlines have problems. It's just stressful with the dogs. It's like traveling with kids. Thank you, Max. It's just stressful. Oh, hey, Nicholas in Sweden. And your Ukraine wife are going to Ukraine. Oh, nice. Oh, great. Oh, that's nice. For Christmas itself? I have no idea how the Ukrainians are Orthodox like we are. Well, some of them are. I don't know whether they do much Christmas, because the Greeks do not, or the Greeks didn't in the old days, being Orthodox. Christmas Day wasn't a big deal for them. They would do Christmas on January 6th, and it just wasn't a big holiday. But I don't know about the Ukrainians. Thank you, Danan, for the gift. But pick up her mom. Oh, that's good. Oh, nice. Yes, I know Ukraine decided to switch to the 25th. Oh, thank you, Dawn. Well, you never know. She's getting older. So this trip is okay, but I worry about her at some point getting old and, doing the flight and all of that. Oh, yes, you guys. Oh, like I said, I never did sleep well, but I'm especially not sleeping well now with my arm. The nerve thing goes off any position I'm in. It drives me crazy. Ukrainian did Orthodox, more traditional. I did make my Greek Easter bread that we also make for Christmas, some of us. Still got some here. I'm going to have a little for breakfast and then freeze the rest of it for when I come back. A lot of younger Ukrainians are embracing the 25th. Okay, nice. Well, I wasn't sure how much Ukrainians embrace Christmas anyway. Like the Greeks, long time ago, when I was there, the Greeks did not embrace Christmas. They didn't, because it wasn't in Greece. Easter is the holiday, right? Like in Orthodox Christianity, it's Easter. It's not Christmas. At least Orthodox Christianity. So it depends. You know, my chair is not the problem tonight. I have the best chair on the planet. Are you kidding? No. I have like the most expensive, the best chair you can buy, except that I got it at an estate sale, so I got it cheaper. But this is a $1,200 to $1,400 chair. It's a Herman Miller. It's one of the best chairs you can buy. That's not the problem. The problem is my back. I do speak some Greek, Razor. Yep. Thank you, Jeff Clark. Thank you, Camacho, RTR, LR, RTR just for joining, LR for the gifts. But yeah, no, I've got a great chair. I mean, it's a good point to raise, but I have a great chair. Yeah, that's not the problem. Okay, you got it, you guys. Sorry. $7,000 chair. Woo. Traditional Greek Christmas traditions. Now, I don't quite know what that is though, because we do American Christmas here. I don't even know of any Greek Christmas traditions. You know what I mean? Like we don't. We do American Christmas. Everything about our Christmas is American. There's nothing Greek about it for sure. But the Greeks didn't, like in the old days. Christmas was nothing. Easter was the big holiday. So, but for Americans, Christmas is big. So that's what we always did, which I'm glad we did. Greek New Year's, no such thing. I don't think so. I'm going to be back in DC. So tomorrow I leave for Chicago, Thursday, and then back in DC the Friday after. So 8 days later. So, the windows? Nah, they're not. They don't get dirty because my door I touch, but the windows I never touch. So the windows stay pretty clean. And then once a year we get them cleaned on the outside. The building gets them cleaned, though, we can clean them ourselves. Sorry, TC, making you yawn. So yeah, the windows aren't a problem cleaning, which is good. And like I said, inside, the thing that what's nice about the two is because they're so big and empty that they're easy to sort of wipe down because it's big open space. It's not like there's a lattice or something. Doggy nose prints? No, because we're high up. You get like handprints on the main door, but because we're not high up, the dog in New York, I was high up with a view looking down. So she loved that window because she would be up there scanning everything like a crazy dog. I don't know if I've got any of my dog pictures here from that, but I'll be on. I'm not sure what days I'm going to be on is the thing. I am going to be doing the show. I just don't know how convenient it's going to be for my sisters. At my mom's, it was always easier because I would have like a big setup on the table. I would basically abscond with the table at my mom's, you know what I mean? And have my big setup there. A little harder at my sister's, but we'll see. I'm looking for my New York photos here. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait. I zoomed in. Stop the zoom. Here we go. Sasha at my window. Yes, this was like my favorite was Sasha at my window in New York, checking out the neighbors and like keeping me safe. It was the best view in the world, and she freaking loved it. And this is her, by the way, you can tell she's looking inside the other buildings because of the angle she's looking at. We're 22 floors up. She's not looking down. She's looking across at the other. She would get pissed. Hilariously, she'd get pissed when she'd see people in the other buildings, which was the funniest damn. And even there, you could tell her ears are up. So I must have taken the picture because she wasn't happy. It's too bad I didn't get like one of those live shots because she was not happy with that picture. I could tell her ears were up and she was like, because somebody was in the building next door. And, God forbid you did that. But yeah, I don't think I've got any of the, but oh my God, she loved that window. It was very funny. Yeah, I don't think I've got any of the videos, not any of the videos, but not too many videos of the window. Actually, also the way, let me look really quick. The way TikTok does this. Oops. I don't know that I've got any. Well, I do have my old New York videos. Hang on a second. Here we go. Oh, hold on. Oh my God, I may actually have one of the videos. Oh, this is perfect. This is freaking perfect because you can see the other building, which is what I'm always trying to tell people. This is the other building. That's the building she'd always stare at, the red one. She could see that far and she'd see people in there and get pissed. I totally forgot I had that video because that's the funniest one. And I'm like, how the hell could you see that far? And she would see into that. She would literally see people in their apartments in that building and freak out. And I'd be like, how do you even see this? You know what I mean? Oh my God. Yeah. And laser focused. That was, oh my God, that was 9 years ago. 8 years ago. So, she would have been 7 years old because she's turning 15 now. So 7 years old. Bingo. Somebody would turn on a light or lower or raise the shade and she'd see them and flip out. Amazing. But that was during the day. So she probably just saw somebody like in the window or something. Just amazing. Yeah. Now, still selling Mom's House, but Mom's House, we're not really officially putting it on the market probably till the end of January because the market, nothing's happening till then. So we pretty much decided we weren't going to really even list it, really. Because otherwise then you get the problem of you tried to sell it and nobody bought it and then it makes it look like the house is bad and this kind of stuff. So we had pretty much decided this was not the season to sell the house. So, no, I mean, I could do it from like the bedroom upstairs or whatever. I'm gonna have to do it from the bedroom upstairs quite literally. So, I'll do it. But anyway, yes, it was very, very funny. She does it here too. Like the neighbor here is much closer by. And it's been how many years of him? 13 years or something, 14 years. And she just flips out every time he turns the lights on or opens or shuts his curtains and just freaks out at him. And it's the funniest damn thing. But yeah, but that one cracked me up. I forgot that I had that video showing how far the building was. And she would look and see people and she'd always be like just perusing, looking for them. Amazing. Yeah. Really cool. Your dogs bark at you. Yeah, a long list of enemies. Exactly. She's got a longer enemies list than Kash Patel. Exactly. Anyway. All right, guys. We've been going for an hour and a half. So, so tomorrow, no show tomorrow because I'm going to just be getting to Chicago like 2 or 3 in the afternoon and I'll be tired, So let's see. And then I've just got to figure out. I just have to figure out what I'm doing. I'm going to try to do the shows anyway. Let's see. It depends how much I can prepare. You know what I mean? But we may do more hangouts and we'll talk about stuff than too much preparation for the shows. We'll see. I don't know. I'm going to bring I almost don't want to bring my computer because it's heavy and with my back and stuff, but I think it's going to be kind of hard doing anything without the computer. I don't know. I'd like to not have the computer, but I think it's going to be too hard. So I think I may bring it with anyway. Saturday, that's true. We've got our Saturday morning show. Let me tell you, Friday. I don't know. Maybe. I want to see what the setup is at my sister's, like how I'm doing it. Like if there's even a desk. I don't even know that there's a desk in my nephew's room. There may not be. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I doubt there is. So I don't even know how I'm going to do this. So let me see. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for the gifts, guys. Thank you, Pam Pam. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Friday, I'll check back and let you know. So. Yeah, I can. It's just, I don't like taking a week off because you just you lose people and it just, you got to keep feeding the beast. So, it's money. That's one of the things too. Like when you work on your own, if you don't work, it's money. Like holidays cost you money. So like if I don't do videos on TikTok, all that, it all adds up. So like there's something years ago. I've worked on my own for 25 years. It was very hard for me to go on vacations because I kept thinking how much the vacation was costing me. And friends were like, you just can't do that. You just have to go on a vacation and oh, well. So, you need to be fed. Oh, you mean the show? I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, the show. All right, guys. Granger First is the name of St. Basil, forefather of the Greek Orthodox Church. There we go. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to go. It's 7:30. Have a good night. Not talk tomorrow, but we'll talk on Friday. I'll check in Friday. That shouldn't be a problem. All right. Okay. I'll see you guys then. All right. All right. Have a good day, good evening, or morning in Asia. Tschüss. Bye. Ciao. All right. Boop. And you all. Boop.